Pastor Ken here again, and I've got Maggie with me. You see her running back and forth behind me, my son's dog. She's out here hanging out with me, so if you see her, don't be distracted. Years ago, there, throw the ball. I should go chase it. Years ago, when I was in high school, we lived down in Ortonville, and we lived behind at the end of a 10-acre plot, and then we had a bunch of private land, but it was a bunch of undeveloped land. There was a small lake and like a big valley and then a big hill. And one November I was out rifle hunting, or using my shotgun at that time, and I was far from home in the sense that I had to drop down into the valley, round behind the lake, and then back up the other side of the steep hill. And there's a couple swamps back there, and I was sitting back in there. And we traditionally wait until dark before you come out. We're not scaredy cats, so we, your dad's always like, wait till it's pitch black before you come out, you'll find your way. And so, I was back there by myself and pretty far from home. And it was, being a high schooler, you act brave, but as it gets darker and darker, you start getting a little bit nervous. And what was interesting was I had my back to the way I had to go, and I'm looking over the swamp, and I didn't see anything that night, and it got really dark, and I decided I needed to, pack up my stuff and get out because it was pitch black at that time. Well, sure enough, my flashlight didn't work because, back in the day, the batteries weren't that good, especially when it was cold out. And so when I turned around to look back through the woods, the leaves are down, I could see our house. It was a tiny little thing way out there, and the lights were on. And it was really interesting perspective, because you looked way up there. I was freezing cold. It was a damp November day. It was dark out. It was lonely in an old nasty swamp there. Didn't see anything. And you look back and you could see home. Dinner was there. It was warm. You could see the kitchen lights were on, and they were just shining. A city on a hill, as I think President Reagan said, that we're a shining city on a hill here in America. And that's really the imagery that Christ gives us several times. He talks about us being the light to the darkness. And being a light to the darkness is important, especially with our situation where our country is now, where there's a lot of turmoil and chaos, and it seems like a lot of anger and mistrust, and we have to wear masks. And so for us to live a loving, Christ-like existence is very, very important to the world, because they will be drawn. People that don't know Christ will be drawn to your walk. We're in Philippians chapter 2, verse 14 says this: do all things without grumbling or questioning, that you may be blameless and innocent children of God, without blemish in the midst of a crooked and twisted generation. Sound familiar? Among whom you shine as lights in the world. Among whom you shine as lights in the world. That's what we're called to be, lights in the world. Notice he also says more. He says, holding fast to the word of life. Talk about holding fast to the word of God, that we should be in it. And that's important to me, and I know it's important to many of you here at Goodland Community Church, that being true to the word of God is important. So that in the day of Christ I may be proud that I did not run in vain or labor in vain. Paul's saying here, as he writes to the church in Philippi, that he wants to make sure they stay true to the word of God, that they are lights to the darkness, that people will be drawn to Christ, that Christ's kingdom would build through our example, that God would use us. And so the call is the same. He had a perverse and twisted generation back then, but we can have a great impact on our community. We need to be praying desperately for revival in our country, and I want you to have a great and blessed day.